Welcome back, everyone. We are gearing up for Game 4, where KLG make their triumphant return to the international stage versus GRX. However, this may be a very dicey game for KLG. We saw GRX earlier, and they were pretty insane in the early game. They were super explosive, a lot going off their jungler empty, and I think I would be kind of afraid to go up versus them if I saw that Gambit game.
Yeah, and I think they looked like they had the best individual players probably going to be in this group. I think once they handily smash Gambit in lanes, you know, as much as I think KLG has some good teamwork, they'll have to really pull it out here because they were dominant in all their matches. They picked lane-dominant champions, and they actually executed on that game plan.
And on top of that, one of the major weaknesses we were talking about for this team was going to be on Empty, but he was coming out performing around Candy's own lead. So already on his comfort pick on the Skarner. Talking about comfort picks, they also got that for Urgot in the top lane too, so they were able to get the picks that they wanted, and the weaknesses just didn't show.
Absolutely. Fantastic first game for the third seed from the LMS in Game 1. Now they're going up against KLG. KLG is, of course, the representative from CLS, LATAM South, the Chaos Latin Gamers within the top lane. Nate in the jungle, Tierwulf, then Plugo, Fix, Slow, and their coach, Pierre. Now, these are the faces that we also saw at MSI. They come with the same roster. They are still as dominant as ever in LATAM South, and they will be looking to take that next step to get to the group stage or to the main stage of a World Championship and get out of play-ins.
Yeah, we spoke a little bit about them in the pre-show. A lot of it just comes down to they've been growing steadily in international performances. They haven't really had that level of competition regionally. Sometimes Reborn is a good example of them getting challenged in the finals, but this time it didn't happen in the summer split. So for them, a lot of their growth comes down to now we're on the international stage, we're going up against some great teams. This is another example where they have an opportunity to grow. I
agree. For KLG as a team, then they are growing and they want a better performance than MSI. They went 2-4, although they did have that huge win versus LATAM North's Rainbow 7. But for CLS as a region, you know, it's kind of a long-standing tradition of not getting through to the final rounds, and I think this is where they need to take that next step. We're looking at Tierwulf. He's the guy that is a catalyst for a lot of what KLG does. In a nutshell, how would you describe his jungling?
It's very aggressive and skirmish focused. Some junglers like to go to their lanes. It feels like a lot of the times they go to Tierwulf, whether it's skirmishing the enemy jungler in the river or whatever. And what's interesting is how that's going to work against Empty, who, like you said, had a great game in tracking down Diamond Procs and just shutting down any aggression he was looking for. So it's going to be a matchup between those two because it's not going to be so much about tracking Tierwulf, it's about making sure he doesn't kill you.
Well, in a couple of games at MSI, we saw that Tierwulf sometimes just took the route of, I am going to seek out the enemy jungler in his jungle and kill him whenever I can. I feel like this might turn into one of those games.
It definitely is. Honestly, I know some of the joke that we've had around Tierwulf is that he's not a KDA player, he's a K player. He's going for the kill. He's literally just trying to track you down. I think while we were looking for this matchup to be a lot about Tierwulf tracking down Empty, what I'm worried about is how supportive Empty and Candy have been together. The 2v2's been very strong. Even if I feel like, even if they're in a weaker 2v2, Candy's not just hard stomping his lane versus Kira, then I still feel like they were working too co-syncly together for me to not be worried about the 2v2 there. So I think what was initially, you know, try get Tierwulf to just go straight at him. I think that's not that easy. You actually have to have some mid lane control now.
Yeah, well, if we look at how KLG plays in the CLS, they get early kills, but that's kind of all they get. It's not that they build a lot of other leads otherwise by towers or objectives. So I think when you're going up versus GRX, you're going to have to be a bit more calculated in how you approach that early game.
Yeah, and I think, luckily, from what we saw, GRX did struggle a little bit in the mid to late game team fighting against Gambit. So I don't think, you know, KLG needs to go into this game thinking we need to smash them in the early game because they're this dominant team. Like you said, they can play a little bit more reserved than maybe they usually do. And if you have a 1 to 2K gold lead, like we said, maybe GRX doesn't team fight well enough to be able to come back from that just on that alone.
Yeah, well, they do have a 90% win rate with a lead at 15 minutes, KLG, so maybe that's what they need to work towards. I do also want to do a prediction check-in. We've given our predictions at the top of the day. I was definitely inting it a bit in predictions. I was not doing very well.
You cursed us in the third game.
Yeah. Oh, it's kaboom! I like flip-flopped and it turned out to be.
Look, the audience heard one thing.
0 right predictions?
That's what they're getting.
And wait, you're matched up with all of us until the last one too. We gotta get away from Shocks. Just flip all of ours away from her.
Okay, so I do like that here we have a consensus that we feel like GRX from their first showing is the strongest team. I think that's fair, knowing that we haven't seen KLG yet.
And it's also fair knowing that we haven't seen enough of the top performances from GRX as well.
Yeah.
GRX, we saw that one best of 5 when they were in the finals in Gauntlet, and we're saying, wait a minute, this is looking fairly good for them. And so if that's the level that they were going to play at and bring over to this stage, then I think that they're the second best team coming out of the LMS.
It would be huge if they get a 2-0 here for GRX, but then they'll have to beat KLG. Let's see how our teams perform. Let's send it over to Pastry Time and Vedius for Game 4.
Thank you very much, Shocked. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Hello and welcome for Game 4. I am Julian Pastry Time Car, joined by the co-owner of my newest fish and chips food truck, the Codfather. It's Andrew Vedius Day.
Hello, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's great to have you here and great to be here, of course, for Worlds as we kick things off on day 1.
Yes, I'm very excited to cast some League of Legends. We've already seen some pretty exciting games. Nation focused me with a pretty impressive steal in the last game.
Maybe finally your investment in an international event will start to pay off, Vedius. But we did see, of course, GRX earlier today, potentially shaking up this group, maybe looking at the team to make it out as first. Very dominant first game versus Gambit.
Yes, exactly that. And GRX, I think, many Western fans probably didn't have huge amount of expectations. Even I was saying that I think Gambit should be a shoo-in to take the top seed in this group. And when you kind of look at them coming into the tournament, they weren't drafting the roster that they had for the vast majority of the regular season. This jungler, Empty, he only played 5 games throughout the entire split. 3 of them were in the Gauntlet, and that was the Gauntlet in which they found themselves their spot here in the World Championships. And so far in the earlier game today, he was very impressive in what we saw. You heard the Alistar talking about how he did a great job of tracking Diamond procs, and I think it's going to be really important in this game when you think about KLG, you think about Tierwulf and how aggressive he is as a jungler.
I mean, certainly he's, one of the bigger voices of the team, very aggressive, certainly a team play around him, both in spirit and in gameplay. We'll see what happens here in the draft. GRX pretty much drafted winning lanes versus Gambit and then took the game from there, kind of behind Empty in his aggressive jungling. We'll see what KLG will bring to the table as we'll kick things off with the Varus ban on the left. That's GRX and KLG ban away Urgot, who is, as predicted, seeing a ton of attention already.
Yeah, and it's also a really big pick for PK. A little surprised that he was able to get his hands on it earlier on because he demonstrated what he was capable of in these team fights. That does increase the value of champions like Ornn for him. He is one of the big engage tools for the side of GRX, and we'll see if Chaos Latin gamers respect that or if they're willing to hand it over.
Well, there's Aatrox banned, so another very strong solo laner banned away. Akali going to join the mix there for GRX, and Skana, interestingly, Empty took the pick in the last game where they won, and respecting the power of it, banning it away potentially from Tierwulf, as Aurelia is the last solo lane-centric ban there from KLG in Phase 1.
Well, they do still have things like the Gragas available as well. A big pick for Empty that he demonstrated in the Gauntlet run. He showed a lot of comfort on it so far. 100% win rate in his performance in the LMS, but remember that it was only 5 games.
Yep.
Regardless, still good stats on him. Now for KLG, I'm curious as to what kind of priority they put on because they played a lot of Skana and Nocturne during the regular season. Now, towards the end of the split, Tierwulf kind of moved away from the Nocturne pick along with the rest of the world after a couple of nerfs to hit the champion. But with Skana taken off the board as well, perhaps he looks to go back to something that he found some comfort on, given that it was something that he played a lot of during the regular season.
Should have a lot of freedom as well versus Gragas, who's pretty well all-rounder, but looks like KLG will take bot lane first here. Xayah and Rakan both left up, so they'll take them together.
Now, remember that the Alistar is still left up and available. It was something that Koala had a fantastic performance on earlier in the day, and it often does extremely well into the Rakan matchup. Leona is another one, but I feel like we haven't seen a huge amount of that from Koala, and it would make way more sense for him to just go back to something that he already showed a lot of comfort on.
Yep, Alistar doesn't give too much away. Pretty standard pick, as you mentioned, so 20 seconds now for GRX to make pick number 3 here in this draft. See if they do want to match in bot lane, or maybe even take a solo lane pick here. Have Gragas for some flexibility, although we are expecting it in the jungle. But looks like they run the clock down, and Tristana is actually the selection. So seeing a lot more play than I may have expected here in day 1.
Yeah, it looks like scaling AD carries seem to be coming in pretty heavily so far throughout the group stages as well, along with champions that can kind of shut them down. And depending on whether you pull off an early big enough lead versus can the scaling get to a point where it can carry the game is kind of what we're seeing a lot of so far throughout the play-in stages. And Stitch on this Tristana, I feel like that in the matchup, it may be difficult, but when you're paired up with the Alistar, you'll have decent wave clear, and we'll see how they get through this laning phase as KLG lock in their top laner.
Yep, they take Sion, so again, pretty safe stuff. Tanks have been pretty popular, although top lane is relatively wide open, as seen by Camille band here, taking away some potential carry or fighter threats from PK. And answering kind for Tierwulf, who they are expecting to play somewhat of an aggressive jungler, they'll take Kindred off the board.
Yeah, they certainly are. I wonder if they do choose to ban away the Nocturne to really just take him off some of his big comfort picks, or instead if they just focus on making sure that they have a favorable matchup in the jungle. So far with the Kindred ban, that makes a lot of sense. Interestingly, KLG not taking away the Urgot. The Ornn. It was something that PK showed during the Gauntlet that he had a lot of proficiency on. We know that it is a champion that he has a lot of comfort on as well. And I feel like they're going to be more than happy to just pick it into the Sion as well. Cho'Gath is another option if they just want a little bit of follow-up damage from the Alistar, who could act as the primary engage, like we saw from Koala earlier in the day.
Did see the Darius ban though, so again, continuing on that theme. Olaf, another one Tierwulf played to pretty great effectiveness at MSI and has been seeing some more play recently, but Zhao can kind of fall down to that next aggressive jungler.
So KLG will get the counter pick in the mid lane, forcing GRX to go for the blind pick. The interesting thing is Candy typically preferred assassins during the regular season. Things like Aurelia and Talon were two of his most played, but he's found the most success on control mages. Things like Orianna, the Cassio, the Syndra, all big picks that he really did have a really high win rate on and really showed some good stuff with. So if he wants a safe blind pick, maybe he goes for something like the Orianna or the Ryze, or he goes for comfort, and he goes for playmaking, and he goes for something like the Yasuo.
Well, we'll have to see, because Maokai is locked in with Ornn left up, and there is Yasuo! GRX gonna lock that in blind.
So you do have a couple of options as an answer to Yasuo. Typically, control mages aren't the best because things like Wind Wall can be very good at kind of mitigating your damage output, and it gets obnoxious later on to the game. Ryze is a pretty solid answer because as the game progresses, you'll be able to hold on to him into a side lane as long as you can get a bit of a lead in the early game, and that's going to be the challenging part for him because at about 3 items, Yasuo is going to be a very big threat off in a side lane, but it will take him time to get there. And you look at this KLG draft and you can see all about the early game. Xayah, Rakan, you can make a lot of plays towards the bot side of the map. You have a Zhao in there as well. Sion will have push up towards the top side. You have 2 side lanes that's very easy for Tierwulf to play around, and Ryze has a lot of mobility thanks to his ultimate and thanks to the wave clear, allowing him to move towards these side lanes. So KLG sticking to the style that has held true to them so far throughout the split, which is early aggression, early leads, and you heard from Shock's 90% win rate when they have a gold lead at 15.
Yeah, it makes sense where they're putting a lot of that power as well. We've talked about him already, but I'm sure we'll hit him again as the game goes on. Tierwulf certainly has the aggressive edge in that jungle matchup. Gragas going to be kind of at the whim empty. We saw how well he could track the enemy jungler in their last game. He's going to kind of be at the mercy of Tierwulf's early pathing. The coaches will shake hands. We'll see KLG's debut here in Worlds 2018, a team that has been on the international stage many, many, many times before VDS. See if they can make it a little bit further this go around.
And GRX, for many of these players, first time at the World Championship, starting off with a win in your group stage is definitely what you want. And remember how important getting that first seed is in this group. Expectations are that EDG, Cloud9, G2 will all be taking the top seeds, and if you can avoid fighting one of those teams, you're at a much better spot to secure a spot in the group stage.
Certainly are. They're going to move out onto Summoner's Rift. GRX will battle for the second time today, and we'll see what KLG have up their sleeves. Certainly fun though. I think GRX are a team that have already surprised us, and I think something like Yasuo here for Candy, who did play very well with Syndra against the Malzahar in his last matchup. Certainly a player that has shown he is proficient when given a 1v1 lane. So we'll see what he can get done here against Plugo, who is very solid for KLG.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we were talking about it in the draft, and you kind of look at the champions that he played throughout the regular season, and his most played were Aurelia and Talon. He loves those melee mid assassins where he can make the outplays, and Yasuo was up there, but not quite as popular as those other 2 champions for him. But even then, these melee playmaking champions, he actually didn't find a lot of success with. He found way more success playing these control mages. You talked about his Syndra earlier in the day where he had a really good performance. So he's going for comfort, and his team is trusting him in this. And for what is a very important game, because you want to start off the groups with a 2-0, it'll be interesting to see how he pulls it off, because this comp from GRX is very much about scaling. You want to make sure you get to the 2-3 item point with the Yasuo, with the Tristana. You have strong team fighting tools, but you can also play the 1-4, send your Yasuo off to a side lane and just be that terror. Whereas KLG, all about the early game. They have so many tools to force a lot of plays, get themselves ahead in both top and bot lane, even in the mid lane if they want to try and put pressure down onto Candy. And it's all going to be this difference in style as KLG already off to a good start.
Yeah, Ignite already from slow onto Stitch there, level 1, jumped on him. And that's a lot of damage down onto the Trist. Koala going to be forced back as well as Fix lets some feathers fly. That was about as aggressive as you can get as Rakan at level 1.
I agree, and they've already forced the health bar out from Stitch. Slow, utilizing the power of level 1 Rakan combined with the Ignite to gain a bit of a level advantage, and now this will give them the early push. They'll be able to get level 2 that bit sooner and gain control over the lane. So this is exactly the way in which KLG want to start off their laning phase.
See Koala trying to be threatening, but not going to pull the trigger on spells just yet. We'll see what the level 2 has in store. There's Fix and Slow hitting it first. And that is going to zone them off the wave for a little while longer. Dazzling Flame will miss. They'll just walk forward here.
Keep your eyes on the junglers as well. You can see the Empty doing a full top side clear, kind of taking the safe approach, whereas Tierwulf, this is the guy that went from red in towards the scuttle, and now his eyes set on the enemy jungle. And we want to look back at his performance at MSI, because this was the last international tournament we saw him in, and we know that even then, he was playing extremely aggressively. Look at the team jungle proximity, look at his early KDA, and look at his early kill participation. This guy was very much involved in a lot of the action that was happening around the MSI event, and he was the reason why KLG were able to find the few wins that they did find.
Sometimes to his detriment as well. Certainly a player that goes in no matter the circumstance. So we'll have to see kind of how he manages that, as Candy did get a decent little trade there on Plugo, but Ryze is doing Ryze things right now. He's kind of getting that lane, shoving in. PK in the top side doing the same here on the Maokai, a pick we don't see too often. Nate struggling with the wave right now on the turret, but should be just fine.
Yeah, Maokai's one of those champions that is kind of always relevant, but not relevant at the same time.
Yeah.
Just, you can plug him into most tank matchups. He will kind of get pressured in a little bit, and you can see that there is a CS discrepancy starting to build up for the Maokai. But on PK, this is something that we have seen from him, and that's kind of why I was surprised to see so many kind of carry top laners banned away from him, because it did seem to me that the most success they had was when he was playing a tank or an engage or a follow-up to that engage. And what we're looking at here is Koala to be the primary engage tool, and I have a lot of faith in his engage abilities based on what I saw earlier in the day. And you just throw a Maokai ulti off the back of that. That is really strong follow-up and really good protection for the players like Stitch and Candy to get in position to really do the damage in these later fights.
Did see the wave here in bot lane push up there for Stitch, but Sion and Fix are going to reverse that one and kind of get it going back in their direction. Has been relatively quiet after Tierwulf's initial invade. We'll see where he does go next. It looks like he's taking it back. Empty already back with the Predator ready to go. As Koala double pull in the bot lane. Does get the stun in, but slow with the shield onto Fix.
Empty actually has his eyes set on the top side of the map. Very uncommon to gank out from Maokai lane, but he ends up putting pressure down there regardless.
And again, now Koala taking some damage. Stitch trying to lay shots in where he can. But Koala just kind of, again, buying some space for the Tristana and continuing to play aggressive here in the 2v2.
There is a big minion wave stacking up, so KLG have to show their respect and will be backing away. Just kind of looking across the board, it feels like things are relatively even. Good jump there from Stitch to avoid the lockdown from Slow. But yeah, this is kind of how GRX want to play the rest of the early laning phase. They just want to keep farming, they want to stay healthy, they just want to get to those item spikes when they can really be relevant. And for KLG, the focus is on them to be the proactive team. Now, it's only 5 minutes into the game. They don't have to have found that many kills just yet, but as we approach the 10-minute mark, once we have those level 6 coming through, I want to see Plugo utilizing his ultimate to move towards the bot side of the map, work with Tierwulf to set up a potential kill onto the Tristana. Maybe use the pressure you have to set up an invade, maybe put Empty behind. Whatever the choice is, I just want to see KLG, the team, being those proactive playmakers and trying to find that early game.
Certainly doing the early work though is Tierwulf. Got a third Scuttle Crab there on the left side. Picked up both, of course, in his initial clear, and then grabbed that one as well. He was trying to hang out here and look to maybe force a gank onto Candy, but he's going to get the win wall up. Snare did land. Tierwulf dives in. Candy, Tornado needs to charge back up. The knockup's good. Damage follows through, but there's the flash from Empty. Trying to snipe someone, but Tierwulf flashed early to avoid it.
Tierwulf recognizing that if he got knocked up at all by Candy, the Yasuo ulti was going to come through, and there was a risk of him losing his life. Zhao, very squishy in the early levels. But he gets the respect flash out. Empty isn't quite able to land his flash in the time being, which means nobody ends up dying. But good proactive play there from KLG. This is the kind of stuff we wanted to be seeing. Surprised that it did go towards the mid lane, and you saw the effectiveness of the wind wall really mitigating the setup potential from Plugo. But still, good start. KLG off to a very slight gold lead, largely because of the top lane CS discrepancy.
See, Candy just took the rest of the wave. He's gone back. Now with just kind of some component pieces here. Plugo, though, with his tier charging, is going to take his second back timer here as well. As with the BF Soak finish for both ADs who are back down here to the bot side. Stitch, not something you see that often in Trist lanes, but holding the wave as best he can with slow off-warding to the left.
I think a lot of it is because we see a bit of a roam from slow moving up through the river. Make it easy for them to aggressively move up in the lane. Now Fix, he's kind of posturing in the sense that he doesn't have his support. And this is something that Koala has to be careful of because slow is hanging around. Fortunately for Koala, he doesn't end up in any danger whatsoever. So the farming continues. GRX are pretty happy with the position that they're currently in. Items slowly starting to come through. The Predator boots have also been picked up. And Tristana doing what she often does against champions with CC and ignoring it.
Still, nice buffer there from Stitch. Does get through. Nate here on the top side. Ooh, good attempt there from the Maokai. PK does get some damage back, but not too much there. Sion with that Cinder already finished. Pretty formidable for a tank, at least, in this 1v1 matchup, but Maokai just kind of absorb this into what he can. Nate does have a pretty healthy CS lead, though. Going to be about 10 as he clears the rest of those out. Tierwulf, though, going for crab number 4, but finally the bot lane of GRX might have something to say. Knock up, though, onto Koala. Tierwulf going to follow. There's the Ryze going to look to try and chase down Koala. No ulti, so he's in trouble. KLG looking for that first blood, and they'll grab it. Plugo secures the kill.
So this was the early kill that KLG were looking for. They found it in the river as Stitch and Koala moved up, thinking that they would be able to contest the Scuttle Crab, but they end up getting collapsed upon by 4 members of KLG. And Koala wasn't level 6 yet. He didn't have his ulti. He couldn't tank up that damage. And unfortunately for GRX, they give away first blood.
Slow with a very fancy play. But again, Stitch just jumps out of there. Fix right now level 6, just trying to get the wave pushing around as Tierwulf back to business here in mid lane. Candy, though, is walking back already, has the flash, so Tierwulf just walks away.
But a bit of a big mistake there from Stitch and Koala. And if you just look at the minimap, you can see that they think they're safe here. They think they can challenge this, but little do they know that the full-on collapse comes out from all the members of KLG. Plugo has his ultimate available to assist with the collapse, and Stitch jumps over the wall to knock them away, and then you end up seeing Koala dive in at the same time, trying to get a headbutt pulverized, thinking that maybe they go for a fight, or maybe they can get something here, and unfortunately, the communication was a little bit off, and Koala just ends up losing his life. Now he's level 6, but KLG need to maintain this pressure. No flash on Koala, no heal on Stitch. They need to keep making their way down towards the bot lane, utilize the ultimate that you do have on the Rakan, and the setup potential that you have with the Xayah and the Zhao.
Yep, we've seen again the expected proactive members of KLG already looking good from both jungle and support. TP is also ready for both these top laners, so we'll see if either of these tanks can make their way down for a potential fight. There is a Mountain Drake up for grabs, but perhaps not the most exciting Drake to grab in the early game. To see how the teams do want to prioritize that. And again, on the GRX side, still looking for kind of any knockout plus Candy to maybe get something done here. I think that's where a lot of the playmaking can come. Lots of different ways to enable this Yasuo. I think Empty has been much quieter than in the last game we saw.
I think that's expected. You know, we talked a lot about the scaling aspects, and I'm expecting to see Empty's impact later on into the game. You know, once we get to the 20-minute mark, once some items have been completed, and when the team fights start, that's where I'm looking at Empty to be the kind of the big playmaker, to be the big setup, combined with Koala, because they have a lot of engage tool, they have a lot of crowd control. And even though Yasuo, he works best when he's off on a side lane, he's definitely no slouch in team fights if you can pull off the execution.
Yeah, not in this comp, certainly. Lots of ways to enable the Yasuo. A nice quick win all there from Candy, but Plugo again harassing, keeping that CS lead up, still up about 10 as Empty maybe looking through the lane here on Krugs right now. But like you said, I think GRX can afford to take this one pretty slow. At least KLG over that 10-minute mark have forced that early bit of action, but I feel like every 5 minutes or so we'll need to check back in and see, have they made another attempt at a proactive play as Koala with a Hex Splash sneaking in the mid lane here.
But look at the minimap, you can see slow moving up as well, Tierwulf hanging around.
Candy gonna try and make the play happen, there's the pull, but Tierwulf here for the counter gang. There's the ulti, actually they turn it back around, Empty! Able to get the kill onto the Zhao, and Nate's TP'd in, but so is PK, everyone's here for the party. And everyone walks away.
And it's GRX that end up coming out with the kill. KLG tried to get the counter gank. They read the play from Koala. They wanted to get it, but they end up falling short. And we talked about the squishiness of Zhao in the early game. We talked about if you just turn and focus him, you can obliterate him. And that's exactly what GRX were able to do.
Koala now back to the bot side, getting things pushing. Dematerializes the cannon as Plugo looking for another roam here.
I like this play from Plugo. He does have the ulti available, but oh, they're sitting on a ward. Did KLG go for it? All right, they're just going to play it safe for the time being.
Yep, no ult there from Slow, but can of course get that W going. Candy pushing the wave back in. He's going to force Plugo back into the mid lane, or he'll quickly dispatch this wave. Candy maybe checking, is not going to spot Tierwulf, but we'll see the control ward, and Tierwulf maybe knowing this actually feels confident to start this Drake and solo it down.
Yeah, they know that Stitch and Koala want to go back to base, and even though the Ryze has gone back to base, he has TP to quickly get back to lane, and Sion is roaming down as well. Knowing that PK won't have teleport and Nate has priority means that he can feel more than comfortable securing this first Drake for KLG. And they also kind of have priority over this Rift Herald as well, because I feel like in this situation, GRX could have considered swapping their bot lane to the top side of the map and then using PK along with MT to actually trade Rift Herald for that jungle. But now KLG looking for an invade. They have 3 members bot and the Ryze is hanging around.
Some fortunate timing there for Koala. Rounds the corner right as 3 members of KLG are rampaging through that brush. Still, the Drake does get picked up as Chaos Latin Gamers will grab the first for their World Tier in 2018. And again, continuing to apply, I would say, like relatively straightforward pressure.
Yep.
Not going too all-out aggressive, which has been kind of a detriment of theirs in the past. Like you keep mentioning, GRX happy to sit it out for a little while longer. Gold lead is still under 1,000. KLG are keeping it up, but not pushing things too far forward.
So it's reaching the point in the game where you start to get worried a little bit about KLG. Not because that they don't have a huge gold lead, but they haven't been able to find many successful plays. Because when you have this in Zhao, one of his greatest strengths is his ability to outduel many of the junglers, especially like the Gragas. And so far, KLG haven't really been able to utilize this. And in the few ganks that they have made, MT has actually been there to counter gank, very similar to what he was doing against the Diamond Frogs earlier in the day. So Xayah will still scale at 3 items. She is a very strong AD carry, but you compare the range, you compare her ability to shred through a tank, and you're going to give the advantage to the Tristana, and that's kind of why we talk about KLG needing to get a lead in the early game. You know, you compare the tanks. Sion, short in lane, he's pretty strong, but in terms of his utility, he doesn't offer the same value that someone like a Maokai does. So, like, the scaling option definitely in favor of GRX, and when it comes to these team fights, which at this rate are bound to happen, you're kind of giving the advantage to GRX, but they are still quite a few items away. They're not quite primed and ready to try and force these fights, so around the 20-minute mark, a little bit after is when we expect to see a little bit more proactivity from this GRX squad.
Set up here in the mid lane though. PK is here and ready. Plugo about to get knocked up. There's the last breath. PK knocks him around, and Plugo barely able to pop the stopwatch in time. He'll flash, but he'll still die. Koala able to scoop it up as Tierwulf dives way too far forward, and PK takes him out as well.
Never mind, GRX, they're more than happy to be proactive right now. They have the rest out in the mid lane, but here comes Nate.
Yeah, Nate charging in, gonna get himself knocked up. Slow on the back end, also eats the tornado. That might just be enough to protect the turret though. Looks like it will be.
So GRX find themselves another 2 kills. They put Tierwulf behind. Unfortunately for Candy, he doesn't pick up any of the kills. The support, the jungler, and the tank have them all for the time being. But the point is that they're finding these early leads when they shouldn't be. Let's have a look at the setup here. Maokai just abandons the wave up top and comes down mid to provide the initial CC to allow the knock-up combos to come in. The Maokai ulti also prevented the rest of KLG from following up and providing assistance, meaning that this was a very clean 4 versus 2, which allowed GRX to find these 2 kills. And while the gold lead is small, definitely a big advantage gained overall for GRX as they reach those item spikes.
Stormraiser battle slow, looking for it, but a great buffer out of the charm from Stitch. Now it's frontside Koala, but he flashes out of there after he pops Unbreakable Will. I cannot believe Triss got out of that.
Very close there. Remember that Stitch was in the middle of his jump while trying to escape, which means that in the animation, a lot of that time was spent CC'd, so the moment he landed, he had enough time to be able to get away. Wasn't forced to use his flash, but did have to use his heal for his support, who also had to flash out of that situation. So KLG still coming out on top in that small skirmish in the bot side of the map, but unable to find any kills for the time being. So GRX, once again, looking good like they did earlier in the day. Let's see if they can maintain this momentum as KLG. They're hungry, and they're always ready to fight.
Nice flash force there. Tierwulf over the wall as Koala and Empty were collapsing down. That leaves Stitch room to continue to shove the wave and apply pressure to the turret. Still first turret gold up for grabs as well. And that Rift Herald is rapidly running out of time to be on the map as Tierwulf continuing to try and hammer bot lane here. Kinda tough too. Gragas gonna pop Predator. Oh no! What a double knockup! There's the last breath. Goodbye! Two members of KLG just evaporate.
That was beautiful from GRX. The knockup from Empty, the follow-up from Koala, the ulti from Candy, everything piecing together to set up for a beautiful combo to send the lovers back to base with nothing.
And now that first turret that I just talked about is gonna be picked up by GRX. Next to, again, some good intuition in the bot lane, collapsing down despite the pressure that KLG were trying to apply. And now it's starting to feel real worrisome for KLG.
Just a tad. They're now at a 2,000 gold deficit. The Zhao is going to rapidly start to fall off, especially being 0-2. And, like, remember this full vision of this. It's KLG that's saying, oh, wait, we can get this collapse on the Gragas, but no. Flash into body slam, into the follow-up from the Yasuo ulti. Koala keeps him suspended. Absolutely everything comes together. GRX looking good. And remember, this was a team that finished 5th during the regular season of the LMS. Expectations were not high of this team coming into the gauntlet, but they did come through pretty convincingly with a 3-0 against J-Team. And remember that Empty, he only had 5 games during the regular season. 5. Game 1 against Diamond Prox, he looked good. Game 2, 100% kill participation. He's read Tierwulf like a book. Every time Tierwulf has tried to gank, he's been ready to counter gank. And Empty is coming up huge for GRX.
Oh, Peak actually starting something off. There's the ult forced out by Fix, but the Brambles still latch on. Koala looking for another engagement. Nate is going to zone them away. Shelly's still grumpy. Oh! Massive Gragas ult into the last breath. He's going to get a triple knockup. That's 3 kills. Make it 4 as they dive Nate under the turret. What a play from GRX.
That was insane. That was such a great wombo combo from the side of GRX. They just obliterate KLG. They'll take themselves 3 kills. They will secure themselves a Rift Herald, another tower, and everything goes in favor of GRX.
Yep. Top turret, as you mentioned, is going to fall down. Candy and Stitch, more than a match for that structure. The rest of the squad finishes off this Rift Herald. Even just little things like game-to-game, GRX last game, picked winning lanes, smashed their lanes, and won the game in pretty rapid order. This time around, picking a bit more of a slower comp, finding their market about 15 minutes, and then just playing out this mid-game beautifully.
Been really impressed with how GRX have been executing upon their compositions, and the fact that Empty, his setups for so many of these fights is just such a pleasure to watch. I'm really looking forward to seeing this replay, how they're able to pull off, because I could see the Maokai locking those 3 members up. I was like, I don't know if he's going to be able to get all 3, but keep your eyes on PK in this setup, right? So he goes on to the Xayah. She uses her ulti very early on, and then the Maokai ulti comes through. Now they're all kind of locked up in this little choke point. They want to get in the fight. There's the ulti from Empty into an immediate follow-up into the Alistar ultimate as well. It's like these guys have practiced this on a regular basis or something. That was such a good wombo combo. Well played there by GRX.
Yeah, I assume that's GRX stuff. Even they look a little surprised about how clean that play was. But what a lead they've now built for themselves. Almost 4,000 gold up. They've got the Herald ready to go. Tierwulf already in trouble again. This is their TP in slow in the front line, but Empty. Gonna try and line it all up. Ryze not gonna look to get them out of the way, but there's another knockback fix. He's down. The Lovers duo is dead as GRX continue to find kills.
And now they can just go straight towards the Baron. Tierwulf doesn't have flash. He's been forced out extremely low. 20 minutes into the game, GRX will be able to secure themselves the Baron. And I can say with confidence that this will be the fastest Baron of the World Championship.
So far, so good as GRX Gonna take down Nate, perhaps the consolation prize. Tierwulf also in the area to maybe look for a miracle steal, but Candy zoning him away, finds a knock-up onto Tierwulf. There's the Maokai ult to force him out. Plugo, one miracle Q, flashes in, doesn't grab it, and PK Koala still fighting. They get a kill on the bot side. The Ryze that dived into the pit is dead, and now Nate, he's just gonna get chased down and knocked around. GRX can do no wrong.
GRX looking so good. 13-1 is the kill score right now. They have a 7,500 gold lead. They have the Baron. The Rift Herald is alive too. Pastry, I think they're just looking to run it straight into the base of KLG.
The Dancing Herald will have to see, but this 2 turret is absolutely dead.
Fix is sitting on the bot lane.
That's the wrong lane.
Yeah, that's definitely the wrong lane. There are 2 members still dead on the side of KLG. How much can they take off the back of this?
Oh, we'll see. 3,600 health still left on the Rift Herald. Nate dead for 5 seconds. They'll just run it into the inhib and say that's enough for this time around. And at 22 minutes into their second game of the World Championships, I guess I'll take it.
That's a pretty impressive lead. GRX looking so good. And, you know, you illustrated it, Pastry, when they played against... All right, we'll get into that in a second. Let's have a look at this Baron. So KLG, they still have 3 members alive. They figured they might be able to get a steal. Tierwulf doesn't have his flasher, and he's just kind of getting zoned away by 2 members of GRX. At this point, it's just Koala. Oh no, but there's PK. And then the best Plugo can do is flash and try to go for a steal, but Empty, very solid with the smite. At this point, it just becomes a cleanup for GRX. And, you know, you said it earlier because they showed an ability to play strong laners, get a lead just through individual skill. And then this time around, they just said, you know what, we'll play the slower game. We won't try and force anything. We'll put KLG into a situation where they have to be the proactive ones. And you'd think, based on how they play in their region, that they'd be really good at finding these early leads. But every time Tierwulf tried, Empty was there. And this jungler just seems to be able to read the minds of his opposition and just say, oh, whatever you're about to do, I'm not going to let you do it.
Like another push, still continuing slow, trying to find the engage, but Stitch again, so quick on the rocket jumps, just gets out of there. Nate, with the flank attempt, is going to at least force a flash from the carry. But Candy also looking to flank it around to Koala. He sees the target. There's the knockback from Tierwulf's ulti, but Koala may be still chasing instead. The Predator will force KLG off the tier 2 for now.
And you can see minions making their way onto the Nexus turrets. This is going to force KLG back. Nate used his TP to try and get a flank onto GRX. While it did get the flash out from Stitch, it will not get them anything else off the back of it. 10,000 gold is now the gold lead in favor of GRX. And they have their eyes set on another inhibitor.
Monumental lead that they have built in such short order as well. I must take back about them playing a little slower with this comp, because turns out once they got going, this snowball has grown awfully big. As this inhibitor turret is forfeit, KLG probably have to give up this structure as well. And really, with 35 seconds left on this Baron, what else can you afford to give away? Empty tries to find the play, is going to force the ult out of Fix. KLG just defending what they can, which unfortunately for them is not that much.
GRX. Ooh, looking for
they're going for it. They know Fix has no ulti. Candy, though, is at least going to get a flash. A windmill is good. He pops the stopwatch into the fountain laser. PK goes, and they're still cleaning house. Nate, he is dead. The turret falls as well. GRXs aren't stopping. Nate's finally going to fall out of zombie Sion mode, and KLG are forced back to their fountain. Nexus turret on the left about to get burnt down as well, and Empty just back onto slow. He's going to look to take it down. Finally, Tierwulf gets a kill, but it's 24 minutes too late. Plugo dead, Nexus exposed, and KLG diving at GRX, trying to stop them, but it is all for naught as GRX will go 2-0 to kick off their Worlds.
Fantastic back-to-back performances from this GRX squad. The 3rd seed from the LMS. Based on Hong Kong attitude from last year, many kind of had low expectations from the 3rd seed, you know? The LMS is often considered the Flash Wolves and everybody else because of how hard they dominate. But GRX came into this competition looking pretty strong in their gauntlet, and they were able to replicate that performance here on the world stage, taking down Gambit, taking down KLG, and now sitting at the top of their group.
In style as well. As they'll shake their hands, that was pretty quick. Maybe didn't expect to have things over so quickly, but a team, again, for all the things you would have heard, I mean, like you said, in a top-heavy region there for the LMS, had like a Cloud9-esque roster that they had to shuffle around and whittle down to 6 here. for Worlds, and somehow in what feels like a week has come together very quickly. Such a strong start for this team, and in style as well. Some of those teamfight setups were amazing.
Yeah, and for KLG, it's not all over yet. They still
Just
have
one
the
game.
ability to play against Gambit. Both are currently 0-1, so that next game later on in the day will be our last game of the day. Will definitely be an important one to round things out, but you kind of look at the strength of Gambit and you sit there and go, okay, they're not looking that strong, but maybe it's just GRX are just that good, right? And it's going to make that next game so important later on to the day. What kind of styles, what kind of approach will they take as they have some time now to prepare for that final game?
Well, we'll have to see. But for more on that victory, let's get some more insight from the analysts.
GRX is awesome. That's it. Just kidding. They do go 2-0. I'm actually not kidding. They look fantastic coming into their first games at Worlds 2018. A lot of kills, again, straight off the bat early. We were thinking, okay, where will KLG go? Will they try and play a bit calmer? What will Tierwulf give his attention to? And he did get caught in a lot of the action, but it didn't go his way.
No, I think very much as we were hyping him up as a player to watch, it was for a good reason on display for this game because everything was around him. The kills on his team, the flashes he was forcing early on, as well as the deaths on his team. So it was what to be expected out of Tierwulf, I think.
It's getting a little bit awkward near the mid lane. So oftentimes he was setting up for that play, didn't come to fruition. A lot of the bot lane fights was that focus. That sure, this was great from KLG. Getting the gold on towards Ryze is incredibly important. Realm War play being able to net them that gold, but it didn't turn into anything.
No, that was the only kill they got in
Yeah.
those early stages.
Yeah, and then this is where things start turning around. The rest of GRX is able to collapse faster, and that was the big problem. They collapsed in. This one starts going their way, and this starts the snowball between the side of Candy and Empty, where they both just started getting all the kills. The Yasuo-Gragas combination, which is a bit of a classic, really came online for them.
That's the point. The fact that GRX's whole point throughout this game is actually a strength that they've had during into their own gauntlet, is the fact that they just move in as numbers. PK, last fight, was happening around mid lane, wasn't even needed. Just came in and was like, well, even though I didn't get the kill, I was the insurance policy to make sure that the fight went well at the end.
Yeah, scrappiness from KLG, and even though they got a lot of kills against them, GRX got a lot of kills, it was still relatively even. But as you say, we saw that beginning of the combo between Candy and Empty, and well, it just kept going, and that's why that now 2 times in a row, our MasterCard player of the game is Empty. This guy is phenomenal so far.
Ooh, yeah.
That was a really nice collapse there as Tierwulf was hovering around balling to set up their own play, and then this one right here in particular, just a godlike setup. Gonna get the 3-man Gragas ultimate, the instant Yasuo to keep them in place, so they actually got a 3-man pulve on top of it. Just really good coordination out of those 3 members that kind of broke the back of the KLG in that one game.
That last fight was really hectic too. That was a long skirmish, just waiting for the right moment. 3 people stacked up. Just great calls overall in these team fights.
And with Cloud9 winning today already, another positive is that Empty turns out to be born in Canada, so I guess you guys can claim that as an NA.
We'll take
I'll
whatever
take
we
it.
can get.
I also heard that he was born in the same city and even the same borough as Jat. No, I just made it up. It's not true. I don't know.
I don't know how big Canada is.
Well,
Sure, yeah.
We'll have to confirm. I don't want to take too much attention away from the actual victors here and the team in GRX. And the fact that this 3rd seed from the LMS is showing up phenomenally where we didn't know what to expect now. What is your impression of them after 2 games?
I think that they look what kind of said heading into the game mechanically like by far the best team in their group, and I really liked the Yasuo pick because so much of what Candy had done domestically was more of assassins and carry-oriented champions like the Talon, the Yasuo, even playing some Kled and stuff like that. So I was really happy to see him play this Yasuo here and then really style on it quite hard.
And here's the thing, we always have to keep well-minded of these late bloomers. A good example is C9. They got everything together in the summer split, but they still had to get through the gauntlet. Same point for GRX and EDG, so we haven't had a lot of good videos on their current performances. It's all coming out now, where GRX is saying that we're possibly the 2nd best team coming in from LMS. We'll have to see once Mad starts playing, but it's a really good start for GRX.
That's a fantastic point. Actually, we're seeing today that the teams that went through the gauntlet and really had to kind of hone their skills as close to Worlds as possible, seem like they are the most prepared or are looking the strongest so far, right? So GRX is now 2-0 in this group. We're seeing KLG versus Gambit later in the day, who both need a win desperately, so it's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, and I'm a little concerned for Gambit. I felt like a lot of the picks that they were trying to do weren't quite working, and then the parts that did work out was more punishing GRX's own mistakes.
Let me just jump in here. Are these both teams just playing for second now in this group? Or
Yes, for me, that's just going to be the case. I think for Gambit, 100%, they're following in terms of expectations just because they usually draft to play towards late game. Getting punished early has not been something they've been used to regionally. When they do get punished, they always find a way to come back into the games. But these teams are really closing it out, especially GRX in the last game you saw, closing out with early vision and really finding great flanks that we saw really early on to punish the bottom lane. So there are really no way that you can just concede that much early.
yeah, GRX do feel like the strongest team so far. We'll have to follow up in this group, but it's time for us to take a quick break. And after that break, we'll have a fantastic matchup. Detonation Focus Me versus Cloud9, battling for first place in Group C. Don't touch that browser.
There's the Ryze going to look to try and chase down Koala. No ulti, so he's in trouble. KLG looking for that first blood, and they'll grab it. Plugo secures the kill. Candy going to try and make the play happen. There's the pole, but Tierwulf here for the counter gang. There's the ulti. Actually, they turn it back around empty. Able to get the kill onto the Zhao. Plugo about to get knocked up. There's the last breath. PK knocks him around, and Plugo barely able to pop the stopwatch in time. He'll flash, but he'll still die. Koala able to scoop it up as Tierwulf dives way too far forward, and PK takes him out as well. Plugo dead, Nexus exposed, and KLG diving at GRX, trying to stop them, but it is all for naught as GRX will go 2-0 to kick off their worlds.
Welcome back to Assist of the Week. During the TSM and Cloud9 qualifier match, Cloud9 was looking to solidify their lead against TSM. Near Baron, Zeyzal and Blabber launched themselves into TSM, causing them to retreat. This scare tactic allowed Cloud9 to use their ultimates efficiently and take down 4 members of TSM.
The fear, here comes the dive, they'll pick up Mithy, and now Hanser might have been up more than he can chew, doesn't find the pullback. It's a 5v3, he's still diving with the ultimate. Oh!